That surprised you, hasn't it? This is Thunder Chant. By Ease Jammy Jams. And why did we start with this morning? Well, of course, you can guess, can't you? We've got thunderstorms on the way. Oh, yeah, after this wonderful, wonderful hot weather. Was it wonderful? I was like a pool of... We're not supposed to say sweat, are we? I was like a pool of sweat yesterday. Wow, I was wet from top to toe. Shirt, trousers, shoes, socks, everything. It was one of the warmest days that I can remember in a long time. Uncomfortable, yes, but still enjoying that sun. And since it's going to give rise to 2 or 3 days, we're told, of thunderstorms, we better get ready for them. So, for storms, we'd better stay loose. Storms on the loose. Stay loose for loose storms. Well, we're in for a packet, apparently, according to the weatherman. This is Keith Hayes with Rouser Radio in Lewes, East Sussex. That's a tiny town on the south coast of England. Not quite on the coast, we're about 5 miles inland, but not far from the city now, the city of Brighton, where everybody congregates to go on the beach and everybody congregates to go to the pubs. And as a consequence, of course, they got some very decent restaurants. Brighton is not a bad place at all to visit. It's still a seamy seaside town, but us Brits, we like our seaside towns to be seamy. The trouble is that they've become seamier over this weekend again, because the sun just swept away all common sense. The beaches were packed. People were jammed next door to one another. In some instances, people drove 5 hours to go to the beach and were turned away by the police because the beaches were so jam-packed. And don't blame the police for allowing them to get jam-packed. There are only so many policemen to go around. And don't start yelling about cuts either. That's easy to say. The fact of the matter is a policeman faced with a huge crowd can do very little. Very little. He can try to establish his authority, but all you need is a few hotheads, and away the crowd goes. The herd. That's obviously what has happened throughout the country. The herd rushed onto the beach. And what's happened? We're now back with a rising rate of the pandemic, of the COVID virus. It's on the rampage again. Oh my God, how silly can we be? And last night on Mirador Television, and you can catch it later today on miradortelevision.com or on Roku. Last night, our very sensible panel wanted to believe in the average man, wanted to believe in common sense, wanted to believe that ordinary people were capable of handling good common sense, good practices to defeat this virus. ho-hum, some hope. They were all out on the beach, all having a jolly good time, and what's happened is some have committed suicide and some have committed murder. Have to put it that bluntly, don't we? That's what's happened. So if you were on a packed beach yesterday, remember that you've threatened the rest of us. I'm supposed to be a vulnerable person. I can give a damn. If it gets me, it gets me. That's the point. But there are lots of other people who are really vulnerable, who will be attacked by this damn thing now, and they'll die. That's right, die. And all those people who went to the beach yesterday will say, what's he raving on about? What's he roaring about this morning? Well, I'm roaring about the fact that so many of us were incapable of stopping roaring down to the beach. And as a consequence, some of our fellow citizens are going to die. That this virus is going to start to spread again, is starting to spread again. Because we couldn't keep away from an ice cream down at the beach. I love an ice cream as much as anybody. In fact, it's my favourite food. But, going down to the beach to get it is a no-no for me. If I'm vulnerable, it may be that I'm one of those carriers who will pass it on. And I stay away from as many people as I possibly can. I have a business to run. I have a business partner. She and I try to keep a reasonable distance apart. We're yelling at one another most of the time, so that's easy to keep a distance apart. But we behave sensibly, and we behave with a certain amount of following the new protocol. And the fact is that if you ask any sensible, sane group of people to debate this whole issue, they'll all come to the conclusion is we haven't a clue what's going to happen to our society. Is that why people rush to the beach? Is that why they just throw the rules out of the water? Last week I put up on television, on Mirador television, yes, and in one of the local pages, Facebook pages, a little thing about people chalking bicycles on the road to make people as a lobby to get some action on bicycle lanes and that sort of thing. And all I did was I posed the question as it's illegal to do that. You're not supposed to chalk on the. So should a lobby group be given exemption because they are challenging or breaking a rule of law? It had about 700 or 800 people respond to it eventually over a period of time, and all but a handful failed to see the point. They rabbited on about their rights and what should happen and what the government should do and what the government wasn't doing and how people should be able to protest and so on. All those things were right. It's all right. But they weren't part of the argument. The argument was, or the debate was, or the question was, should we allow a lobby group to break the law and then worry about rule of law? Very few people address the issue. And that's really why we are having all this problem with people rushing down to the beaches and so on and so forth. Rule of law? To heck with it. Policemen? To heck with them. Now, if it goes too far, of course we'll have chaos. And the great Greek philosopher Plato said in his book on politics, called Politics, in fact, if you get the breakdown of chaos, it turns into anarchy, and anarchy then turns into dictatorship. So if we suddenly find that we've got a government that is telling us what to do, suspending liberties, doing all sorts of naughty and nasty things, it's our fault. I don't want to see them to do it, and I think it's wrong that they should do it. They're already doing it in some countries across Europe. But we see enough of it here. And now, for those people in Lewis, read Lewis I. That's Leweseye on the internet. Find it, Lewis I. Leweseye. It's an investigative journalism site that tries to look in depth and sensibly and with all the evidence amassed about various things that are going to affect us. And the question they pose is, did anybody bother to think about the Lewis plan when it came up for review last year and everybody had a chance to object to it or talk about changing it and so on? And they answer their own question is very few, if any. And now that plan means that any building can be done, almost any building, just because somebody puts in a planning application. The hands of the local council will be tied. Mind you, they seem to be tied all the time at the moment. I can't get much action myself on anything from them, but still, there we go, that's another issue. But now we are faced with, as one lobby group against building houses said, we are going to start building ghettos. We are going to be laying the slums of the future. We're going to can, in certain circumstances, build on floodplain, on parkland. Do we not learn? Do we not learn from anything? We cut down the rainforests, okay, perhaps not directly responsible, but we cut down the rainforests and then we get climate change. And when we get climate change, we get viruses that start tottering around, and then those viruses kill us. So what do? We go and replicate the exact conditions that these viruses love. Ha! Mankind? Your fellow citizen? Now, let me be a nice guy for a moment, because I have to say that I am able to hold these sort of debates because people are decent and do enter into debate, and that these sort of things are under discussion with a lot of nice people. But they're not part of the tens of thousands that rush to the beaches. So we really, those of us who care about these things, are in the minority. Oh, Keith, what should we hear? There's one here called Asleep with the Sun. So since I did drop off yesterday at some stage and enjoyed the sun, let's go to Sleep with the Sun, since we're expecting these terrible thunderstorms.